When thinking back to the start of COVID, one main thing I remember that impacted me was the death of George Floyd and the impact it had on the world in 2020. For those who don't know, the Black Lives Matter movement started in 2013 when three Black female organizers named Alicia Garza, Patrisse Cullors, and Opal Tometi created a Black-centered political will and a movement-building project called #Black Lives Matter. This hashtag began on social media and online news platforms from the response of the murder of Trayvon Martin, murderer named George Zimmerman, back in 2012. Since then, it has established itself as a worldwide movement, particularly after the death of George Floyd. On May 25th, Minneapolis police officers arrested George Floyd, a 46-year-old Black man, after a convenience store employee called 911 and told the police that Mr. Floyd had bought cigarettes with a counterfeit $20 bill. Within 17 minutes after the first squad car arrived at the scene, Mr. Floyd was unconscious and pinned beneath three police officers showing no signs of life. While this was happening, bystanders captured the video of the officer behind a police car using his knee to pin Mr. Floyd by his neck. And in the video, Mr. Floyd is heard repeatedly saying, "I can't breathe." The day after George Floyd's death, the Minneapolis police chief, Madera Arellano, had fired all four men involved in the arrest of Mr. Floyd, along with the call-in for an FBI investigation after seeing different points of view of the video of George Floyd. Later that day, hundreds of protesters flooded into Minneapolis streets, where some demonstrators vandalized police cars with graffiti and targeted the houses where the four officers had been inside in the following days. As a response, officers used tear gas and fired rubber bullets into the crowds, and some businesses, including restaurants and auto parts stores, were set on fire. However, these protests weren't the only in the city of Minneapolis, but in all cities across the U.S. There was demonstrators in other cities, including Los Angeles and Memphis, who started to march in outrage, and not only over the death of Mr. Floyd, but also Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky, and Ahmaud Arbery in Brooksville, Georgia. On May 29th, former officer Derek Chauvin gets arrested and charged with Mr. Floyd's death. He was charged with third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter and faces a maximum of 35-year sentence. On June 3rd, all four officers involved in the incident were charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder and aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter. Both felonies, court records show. Chauvin also received an additional second-degree murder charge, a felony, according to court records. In June of 2021, after a trial of 3 weeks, Derek Chauvin was sentenced to 22 and a half years, and the three former Minneapolis police officers, Thomas Lane, Sue Thao, and J. Alexander King, were then charged in February of 2022.
Okay, go.
Even though the officers involved in George Floyd's case were charged, there still has been numerous police violence situations that happen. As a teen, seeing all these Black people die from police violence makes me wonder how many of us have to die for there to be a change in the system, and what will it take?